For our next project, we're going to be using oil pastel. So this is a worksheet to practice our oil pastel techniques first. I'm going to walk you through it. Our first box of instructions says we're going to make a secondary color. So we're going to choose two primaries to make a secondary. Our primary colors are red, yellow, blue. You could choose any two of those three. I'm going to choose a yellow, and I'm going to choose a blue. And so then these two colors together, they're going to make green. Depending on the yellow you choose and the blue you choose, your green will be different. Like I could have chosen a light blue to make a different green than what this blue is going to make, right? I could have chosen this yellow. That would make a different green than that yellow. And then some boxes have a really, really light yellow. My box doesn't have that light yellow. So I'm going to stick with these. I'm going to color in this box. I want you to color in the entire box. Okay, stay in the lines. Oil pastels don't have a fine point, so it's hard to get small details. And then I'm going to bring this yellow all the way over into the second box too. I'm going to fill it in, a nice thick layer of yellow here. And then I'm going to do, you can take the paper off if you need to on any of these. Blue in this box. I always like to start by outlining my area and then filling it in. Okay. And so now to make my green, I'm going to blend my blue on top of my yellow. I'm going to go in these little circular patterns so it mixes that yellow in with it as I go. It picks that up a little bit to blend that into my blue. And so now I've made a nice dark green. Okay. There we go. That's it for box one. Now, box two. In the first box below, it says add white to a color to make a tint. And then in the second one, we're going to add a lighter value of the same color to make a tint. So for this, I'm going to choose, I'll choose blue again. I'll stick with this blue. So for my second box, it'll be that light blue right there. And then here it'll be white. So white might be hard to find. Like this is my white. It's covered with a ton of other colors. So what I want to do is scratch those other colors off so I get a nice pure white here. And I'm not going to like accidentally be blending red into it or anything like that. But I'm going to start by coloring both boxes with this blue. Now you could choose any color you want. You could choose green, you could choose purple, orange, red. You could choose whichever color you want to use here. You could do pink. You could choose black. So nice thick layer, my oil pastel, both these boxes. So now we're going to make tints in two different ways. First box, we're adding white. I'm going to blend white on top, the entire box. So you can see I'm getting a nice lighter blue now. This is a way to make a tint. This is called blending. Tints are light values of any color. Value is just the range from light to dark. And then the second box, I'm going to add a lighter blue. So this is also going to create a tint, but the value of that tint is going to be slightly different. It might not be as light, right? Because this light blue is not as light as white. So two different ways to make a tint. They're slightly different blues. Okay. Second one, we're going to be working with shades. Okay, so a shade is the dark values. So you can, it says to first one, we're going to add black. And then in the second one, we're just going to add a darker value of that color. So you can just kind of take a look at the pastels you have. I'm going to choose green this time. This is going to be my middle green. Okay. This is going to be my dark green that I'm going to add to it. And then here is my black. So same thing. I'm going to fill both boxes with my middle green value. I could have chosen the same blue. See, I have this darker blue here, so I could have still colored both boxes with blue and then did this darker blue. But I just wanted to change color, so green is what I chose. New color in this box, green. And now I'm going to add black to this one to make it a dark shade of green. Black is really powerful, so I'm going to be really light. I'm not pushing much pressure down, I'm not trying to get a really heavy coat of black on here. And so I don't like that scratchy texture. If I wanted it to look smooth, I'm going to go over it again with my green. And now I'm going to press down more with my green and go in that circular pattern, so I pick up that black and I'm blending it around together. All right, so this is just kind of pushing that black and that green into each other in different ways to get a nice dark green here. And now for this one, instead of doing black, I'm going to create a shade by adding a darker value to it. So I'm going to go over this green with a dark green. So you can see I get slightly different greens here, just slightly. It's kind of hard to see in the camera. I could go over this one. It's definitely darker on this side, more my black got pushed to that side. So I could go over it again, some more black. Black is just really powerful, so no matter what color you choose, that box is going to be pretty much almost black, especially if you add a lot of pressure. Box 4, create a value scale using only a paper towel or your finger to blend out the value. So this, I am going to choose purple. You can choose any color you want. We're going to start over here on the left by adding a ton of pressure. And then I'm going to lessen my pressure as I move to the right. Still trying to stay in the lines, fill my box in all the way. And then I'm going to spread that out with my finger. Okay. I can push some of that pastel back this way. So it goes dark to light. Now here we're going to create a value scale. I'm going to pick the same purple, but we're going to be using black and white to do it. So here's my black. Here is my white. So to also create, it's going to be a shade moving into a tint. So we have shade to tint, black and white. You could also use the darker value. So I could use a darker purple and a lighter. Pink isn't exactly a purple, but they are very close to each other. So I could also create a value scale blending the dark purple on top and blending a lighter value on top, right? It doesn't have to be using black and white, but that's what my instructions are for right here. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to color the whole box in with this purple. Same amount of pressure across the entire box. This really creates a lot smoother of a texture and looks a lot more finished than smearing it with your finger or a paper towel. I personally don't like that because then it picks so much of the pastel up off the paper that it then looks kind of unfinished and looks kind of messy and sloppy, but it is a technique that you can use. It's just not my favorite technique. So on this side I'm going to add black. And I'm going to lessen my pressure on the black as I get towards the center. A little more pressure on my black over here on the left. And again, black's really powerful color. So sometimes you have your base color, then you add black, and then you go back with your base color on top of that. Okay. So now over here, I'm going to add white. Make sure I've cleaned off my white. Okay, white's nice and clean. Add a lot of white over here. And then I'm lessening my pressure on my white as I get towards the center. Okay. So now I have a nice value scale, dark to light purple. Again, you can choose any color you want. Now this is a lot more exaggerated than that, right? This I think looks way better than that looks. Box number 6, for blending, choose 2 colors to blend together. Apply one color in a value scale fashion, pressing hard at the beginning and then loosening up your pressure as you get towards the other side. Do the same with the other color, but we're going to go the opposite direction. So, blending two colors together. Now this is, you could blend any two colors, but your complementary colors do make neutrals or browns and get muddy. You can still blend them together. They're still beautiful colors, but it might not exactly be the color that you want. So I'm going to choose a blue-green, and I'm going to choose a yellow right here. So they're not opposites. They're close to each other on the color wheel. They'll get a nice greenish color there in the center, a little bit more green. I'm going to take off some of this paper. There we go. So a lot of pressure with my blue-green on this side. And I'm going to go all the way over to the right side of that box. But I'm going to lessen my pressure as I go to that right side of my box. Less and less pressure all the way over here. Less and less pressure all the way over. Okay, there we go. And now I'm going to use the yellow, but I'm going to go the opposite direction. I'm going to use a ton of pressure on my yellow here and gradually use less. A lot of pressure, gradually using less and less pressure, picking up that blue-green, blending it into this yellow to get a nice, beautiful, rich green color. More and more pressure as I come to this side of my yellow. Okay, so this is a way to blend colors together. Again, you can choose complementary colors and get some weird neutrally browns in there, kind of muddy color, if that's something that you want. I think blending colors together makes really rich colors rather than just using a green. Creating a green, I think, makes it much richer. Okay, so same thing here, but we're going to choose two different colors. So I did blue, a blue-green, and a yellow. So here, let's go for a purple. Let's create a nice purpley color. I'm going to choose this purple. It's a little bit more on the red side. And I'm going to choose pink. Okay, so pink is a light red. I'm going to take that paper off. There we go. Got a nice small piece. So a lot of pressure of my purple here. This is just the same thing. You're just choosing two different colors this time so you can kind of see what they make, how they interact with each other. You could choose to make two primaries together again, right? So I could have chosen red and blue to create a purple here. Less and less pressure in my purple. Okay. And now I'm going to go over with pink. Pink on this side, a lot of pressure of my pink. And see, these are also different values. All right, my pink is a nice light value. That purple is a little bit darker of a value. So you also get a nice value scale here, light to dark. There we go. So this has a tendency to look a little bit more monochromatic. I could even come in with a darker purple to exaggerate that. Make that a little darker on this side. There we go. Get a nice, more exaggerated value scale there. Stippling. So this is starting with a light color. We're going to fill in the area. And then with a darker color, layer a group of dots on top. Stippling is shading with a series of dots. Yellow is a nice light value. Peach is a nice light value. Pink is a nice light value. So any light color you want to pick. You can use tan, you could do white, you could do this light, ooh, actually, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this nice light green here, kind of minty. Fill in the entire box, right, because we don't want to see the white paper in our artwork when we get to our final piece. We want to have a nice base color down. And so then with a darker value, it could be any darker value. I could do dark purple, I could do dark blue, I could do a dark green, I could use brown, I could use a dark red. Now red and green are opposites, so it might start to blend and look a little muddy. You could use black. I think I'm going to choose this purple. I'm going to do this dark purple. So again, a series of dots. I'm going to start on one side, and it's going to go dark to light. A little series of dots. The more dots there are in an area, the darker that value is. Right, so if I really wanted to keep it kind of the same color, I could have chosen a dark green. You could also do multiple colors. So maybe I want to start with purple. Maybe I want to switch to green and add in some darker green on top of that purple. Nice series of dots here. The less dots you have, or the more space in between your dots you have, the lighter that value appears to be. And I'm going to go all the way over to the other side. Less and less dots. And I'm going to choose tons of dark colors here. So I'm going to do the dark purple, a darker green. I'm also going to pick up a nice darker blue. So this creates a value scale, but it also gives a sense of texture. All right, so far this texture is looking different than that texture or this texture or this one. So depending on the object you've drawn, this might be a method you want to use to create a texture. Like if you did a basketball and you need to shade in your basketball to make it more sphere looking rather than a flat 2D circle. This might be a texture you want to use to capture the bumpy surface of a basketball. Okay? It could also be great for leaves and fall, like leaves on the ground, things like that. We don't have a solvent, we don't have body oil or mineral spirits to blend things together. I do have Q-tips, so let me grab a Q-tip. We can use those. So this would just be using a different type of material to blend. Okay. Value scale, using this other material to blend. So value is, again, that range from light to dark. I'm going to choose orange this time. So I'm going to go with orange, really heavy here. Try to stay in the lines as much as possible. Do fill in the entire box. Get lighter on my pressure over here. Now I could also exaggerate this by adding a darker value on this side. So brown is a nice darker orange. You could also add black. Okay. But then just to get a different texture, we're going to blend that out. I'm going to use this cotton. All right. I'm going to spread it around, moving some circles back and forth a little bit. Try to spread that out so pastel's not clumping up in one area on me. And I'm just going to use less pressure over here on this side. So this, again, different texture than that. A little bit different texture than... Okay, so my video got cut off. I'm not sure where it was. This is the light value over the dark. And I was showing you can scratch in different things to it. You can even like scratch some solid areas out. It's hard to see until you get up close, but it gives an actual texture to it. On this side, this is the dark over the light value. So you scratch off that dark value and you can really see that light value pop underneath it. It's a lot easier to see on this one. You can draw hearts. You can do some hatching, cross-hatching type of thing. You can do what's called scumbling, which is like scribbles. And it gives some really nice texture. So I'll kind of zoom in on that here. Get into focus. Now you can see that texture on this one a little better. Again, it really pops whenever you do a dark over the light. You scratch that dark off, you can see that light underneath it. So this is great for hair. It's great for fur. It just works really well for a lot of things. Since this one is really similar to some of the other ones, I want to go over this and show you what scumbling can look like. So I colored it in all orange, right? And I'm going to go in with this darker orange. And scumbling is like a controlled scribble. I'm really controlling where I'm scribbling and making these kind of circular motions. It also gives a nice texture. I can do this with different colors too. You can mix tons of colors together this way. So this is green over orange. Green and orange are almost opposites. But that also gives a great texture for things like hair or for clouds.